To have multiple streams to pass these children, baby. Let me teach you. You get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all psychology black on firm, but we ain't all black.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Constance Carter. What's happening? Come on in, come on in. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing with me. I'm late, but it's not my fault. But it is 11:11 East Coast time. That's a good thing. So maybe it was the Lord's work by making me at 11:11, because it's 11:11 right now, and I'm live at 11:11. I apologize for my tardiness. It wasn't my fault. Technical difficulties. You know, when you're live, you know, some things be happening and you just got to roll with the punches. So I had a whole stream in here, and then all of a sudden it went away, and then I had to recreate the stream. And so it was just kind of weird. Something weird just happened. So if the stream is still out there on like YouTube and stuff, you guys may still be on the other stream waiting for me to come in. But good morning. Good morning. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for coming in and being patient with me. It's me and my big forehead coming to talk to you today. What's up, everybody? I got a little, you see my little swollen eye right there? I got a little swell going on, but I'm here anyway. I want to talk back to you and talk black to you. So thank you for always being dedicated and coming on here. And I want to talk to you about these damn student loans, because I do believe it's a war on black wealth. But before I do that, you know, I got to shout you out. I love it when you come in, and I know we have people that that watch from all over the world. So thank you. Who am I talking to? Who's here today? It's quite a bit of y'all out here. So I see you, Booker T from Fort Worth. What's happening? And then I see you, Christina. Good morning, Christina. Angel. Christina's from Tallahassee. Everybody, where are you watching from? Because I want to shout you out. That's number one. I love for you to talk back to me. You know that, okay? So talk back to me. Talk black to me. I need to get your interaction. That's the only reason why I come live, because otherwise I would just do a pre-recorded video and put it out on YouTube. But I like to talk to you. I like to engage with you. That's why I do this every single day, because I love to have these conversations. I love to have intelligent conversations with intelligent people, because you guys always give me food for thought. And I love it. I even love you guys when y'all be antagonistic against your girl. I even love that. I don't know why to stick. I even love the antagonist comments, you know, and it makes me happy. And I don't care if you talk about I bleached my skin, or if why do I talk? How am I talk about black people when I got these blonde braids in my hair and all this stuff? You know, it's all kind of craziness out there, but it don't even matter, because I love y'all anyway. But anyway, where are you watching from? And then the other thing is, if you have a black business, you know, of a black business, or you're getting ready to start a black business. Now we ain't doing businesses, we doing businesses. But if you getting ready to start a black business, I always want to shout you out. It's very important that we work together and practice collective economics, because it's real out here in these streets, y'all. It's a real war going on. I see. Is that Sarasota, Florida? Maurice, you're from Sarasota. What's up, Andrea from Chicago? Madam Diallo. Okay. Concord. That's somewhere, I believe, in the motherland, right? Diallo, is that where you at? What's up, Martise from Memphis? What's up? Good morning, Miss Gail from Compton, California. All right. So listen, if this is your first time watching, chime in and let me know. Okay. So I want to talk about these student loans. I'm gonna get right into it. So I ain't gonna be before you too long. You know, some days I like to, just have some pre-dialogue with you, but there's a lot that I want to cover today. Because not only do I want to talk about these student loans, I also want to talk about a solution of how you can get out this stuff. Because a lot of us are stuck in these student loans, and it's like, okay, they tell us to go to school, we go to school, and then they keep raising the bar, they keep moving the goalposts, they keep making it more difficult for us. Who's the most highly educated demographic in this country? It's the Black woman. Okay. I don't know if you know, but they even have problems at HBCUs getting Black males to attend. There are more non-Black students at Howard University than there are at than there are Black males. So it's a real sort of a dichotomy of how things are playing out. We definitely need to be more educated. We also need to have more people, that are in the trades. But we got to be real. The numbers speak for itself. Trump's war on Black wealth through student loans It's not just about politics. It's about our pockets. This is about our power. This is about our future. I have three Black sons. Two of them actually attend colleges, HBCUs, and they are rare. They are a rarity on campus, unfortunately. Trump has said, I'm going to reinstate student loan. I'm going to reverse student loan forgiveness. But not only is he doing that, he's being very aggressive on his wage garnishments for student loan defaults. Well, who's the biggest benefactor of student loans? That will be Black women. He's trying to remove the federal forgiveness initiatives like PSLF and IDR, which is income driven repayment program. And what's happening is it's pushing borrowers, especially Black borrowers, into collections much faster. So let's talk numbers. 86% of Black college students take out federal loans. 86% of college students take out federal loans, as opposed to our white counterparts, which is about 68% of them. Okay. On average, Black borrowers owe on average 188% more 4 years after graduation than their white counterparts. And then Black women, we carry the highest student debt on any group in America. And yet, even though with those degrees in hand, we're still fighting the wage gap. Let me explain something to you. Even when we get the degrees, there's still not any equality, because a Black woman compared to a white man, we make 65% for every dollar earned by a white man, even though we have a degree. We go through it ain't DEI that's getting us the degree. We have to go through the same rigor. We have to take the same tests. We have to do all the same things. And even just getting in the door, we're making 65 cents less, or 65 cents off every dollar. And even for Black men are making 62 cents for every dollar earned by a white man. So when we look at that, you got to ask yourself, okay, why is it that Trump is, removing CFPB, which is the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau that protects consumers? What are all these things that he's doing to take away safeguards to protect consumers? Okay. So like if you owe $60, $80, or $100,000 in student loans, you can't buy a house a lot of the times. I remember I had a teacher. She was a principal. She owed over $200,000, $250,000 in student loan debt. And she couldn't even buy, and she was making, she was making 6-figure salary. But because her student loan debt was so high, I couldn't even qualify her, because I own a mortgage company. I couldn't even qualify for her for $100,000 home. We're in the Bay Area. Where are you going to buy? Where's she going to buy? She can't buy because she had so much student loan debt. That is indicative of a lot of Black women who bought into the idea, which is not a bad idea, of getting that higher education. That is why we're the most educated demographic out there. But when we look at the cost of college, let's look at the cost of college. Okay. So on average, it costs, three of my kids, my daughter went to an HBCU. She went to Hampton. I have a son currently at Hampton, and I have a son at Jackson State. So Jackson State being a state university, the tuition's probably half the amount that my son pays to go to Hampton. Hampton's a private institution. He's paying about $45,000 per year. $45,000 per year for 4 years. So if you look at what he's going to be paying, if he has $100,000 in student loan debt, and if he pays it off in 5 years, his monthly payment is going to be roughly $2,000. He's going to pay $18,000 in interest. And his total amount he's going to pay out is $118,000 for a $100,000 loan. That's if he pays it off in 5 years. Now, if my son pays off his student loan in 10 years, he's at $1,161. His total interest is $39,000. He's paying $39,000 above and beyond what his original loan is. And he's going to pay $139,000 total. In 15 years, as you see, $898 monthly payment, lower monthly payment, higher interest. And then if he pays it off in 20 years, which actually is the average amount of time that it takes somebody to pay off a student loan, is 20 years. So that $100,000 student loan becomes nearly double what they originally got. And Trump is aggressively coming after student loans with wage garnishments. Now, if you look at other countries, let me tell you the other countries that I looked at other countries where education is free, because this country is one of the only countries that you'll see where education costs money. Where is it at? And when you look at us on a global level, I will tell you this. In math, US ranks 28th out of 37 in countries. In science, we rank 12th out of 37th. And in reading, we rank 6th. We have the highest educational costs, but we don't even rank the highest in global educated people. As you see, we don't rank the highest because look who we elected in office. Look at the results of what we elected in office. People will vote against their own best interest just because they don't want people like you to get certain things. Just like with free healthcare. The reason why we don't have free healthcare today, I don't know if you know, is because they don't want Black people to have free education or free healthcare, because they felt like this was actually a scientific study that they did back in the 1800s. They felt like if they that they would solve the race problem with Black people if Black people didn't get healthcare and they died out. They were able to die out in a few generations. So in order to keep us, in order to keep healthcare away from African Americans, they were the only developed country that they don't even have free healthcare. Right. So these are the things that they do to keep people like you from getting certain benefits. So when I looked at Trump saying, okay, we're gonna roll back these the student loan forgiveness, and then I thought, okay, well, who benefited the most from the student loan forgiveness? Well, it was Black women, because we were disproportionately affected. Because of course the goalpost is always moved, and every time they tell us to get an education, and anything we try to do, they end up doing whatever they can to stop us from being able to thrive in that. Hold on one second. I'm trying to pull something up as I speak to you. Okay. So I just want to show you a couple of more. Let's look at student loan debt by race. Okay. So 90% of African Americans end up getting student loans, almost 90%, a little bit under 90%, I think 88% of African Americans, 72 or 90, actually 90%, 72% of Latinos, 66% of whites, and 51% of Asian Americans. But this was actually back in 2011, 2012. It's actually a lot higher than that, a little bit higher than that now. But this is where we were back in 2011. Okay. And then if you look at the amounts, and this is an old graph too, this is old information. But again, if you look at it comparatively speaking, where we are to our white counterparts, it's significantly different. We owe more. So again, when we talk about increasing student loan debt, or excuse me, reversing student loan forgiveness, who is this affecting, and why is he so adamant about reversing that? Again, it goes back to I'm going to vote against my own best interest because it's helping somebody else. That's how a lot of these people think. Okay. So I think Germany, Norway, Argentina, college is free. Yeah. So for us not to be number one in education, but we still are the highest in education costs, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. But I also want us to look at, and if you saw the video that I did yesterday with Jamal, when I was talking about what Jamal Bryant was talking about with the trade schools, that is not a bad idea. Now, I'm gonna tell you, all 4 of my kids have gone or are going to college, and that was important for me, because college for me was not just about the education, it was about the experience. It was about it's about my kids getting that experience to be, my only regret, and I've said this from the time that they were born. My only regret in life is not going away to an HBCU. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes, but my only regret in life is not going away to an HBCU. So all of my children, I have to live vicariously through them. And, you know, my oldest son, he fought. He was like, I want to forge my own way. And, you know, he was mad at me, but it's the best thing. And, you know, of course, these kids don't know what's best for them. So for me, sending my kids to school, of course, my oldest son, he wants to go to law school. So it's important for him to go to school. Like, if you're going for a purpose, like if you're going to be a doctor, specialized professional, doctor, lawyer. But my daughter went for marketing. My daughter learned more about marketing working for me for 6 months than she did at 4 years at Hampton University. And I paid her tuition out of my pocket at $45,000 a year. However, I'm not mad at it because I obviously was able to afford it. But more importantly, for me, it was about the experience that she was able to get by going to an HBCU. That was the reason why I sent my kids away to college. That's the reason why I was so adamant about them going. But if you don't have the means and it's not possible, you don't want to get in over your head and have this $100,000 in debt. And as aggressively as Trump is coming after folks for the student loan forgiveness, but I'm going to talk to you about ways that you can reverse student loan debt. So we're gonna get into that. But I just wanted to kind of talk to you about, you know, the gaps, even with the education gaps, even with higher education. Again, like I showed you, Black professionals, they earn significantly less. These disparities, they hinder the ability of us to be able to accumulate wealth, to invest in assets, and to achieve financial stability. Okay. Obviously, the wage gap are indicative of a broader systemic issues, right? Discrimination, they're not hiring, DEI doesn't benefit us. And the whole idea, even yesterday when I was talking about Jamal Bryant and the Target rollback, or the Target fast is what he called it, but it's a boycott. One of the things he was saying is he wanted this company, and just to be an example, Target, to be an example, to be specific about DEI, because we know that DEI does not benefit Black people. It benefits white women, it benefits veterans, it benefits disabled, it benefits LGBT, and then Black people are you know, at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to DEI. But being specific about offering Black people opportunities is what they don't do in the workforce. Right. We know that only 3% of Fortune 500 have Black people at the executive level in CEO positions. We're not doing that again, though. But it goes back to us creating our own and not begging to have a seat at their table, but creating our own tables. But you got to realize it took them 400 years to create these institutions that they're able to have so much power. We did 400 years. We didn't even have access to even be able to sit at the table. So, you know, when we talk about the fact that, you know, it's been 70 years since the Montgomery bus boycott, and here we are still boycotting Target, and we got to go to Costco because we still don't have any big box stores that we can go shop at. Well, you think about historically what's happened to us. Let's talk about it. Every time we forged ahead, they have systematically dismantled everything that we've brought to the table, whether it be our neighborhood, whether it be our businesses. Every time they tried to figure out a way. You even think about what is that called? The BOI compliance, right? In 2000, we had a record number of Black entrepreneurs that were registering their LLCs to start these corporations. Once you get a corporation or an entity, you automatically get a bunch of tax breaks, tax benefits. I, as an S Corp, get tax benefits that you as a sole proprietor or as an individual working individual do not have access to. You just don't. I have all types of benefits and that you don't have, because I have a corporation. I've had one for over 15 years, and it's an established corporation with business credit and lines of credit. I bought commercial real estate with it, and good credit rating, all those things. And so in 2020, because you had all the scammers on TikTok talking about get your LLC and do this and do this and do this, right? And so all these people started getting their LLCs. And then once they did that, and it was people who look like you, the people who are watching, the folks that look like you started getting your LLCs. Now they put this BOI compliance in, saying, oh, we want to make sure that there's no money laundering. So any business under 5 million, because when you have an entity, it actually is supposed to protect you as your individual person. Your entity is a separate individual that you get to have some type of anonymity, depending on the state that you're in, to everybody, right? To the public. And so they're like, no, we want to get all of the information to all the people who are part of your corporation, because we want to prevent money laundering from people who make less than $5 million. Well, the people who make less than $5 million aren't us, the one that are starting them, but that was the reason. And this is under the Biden administration. So every time we have tried to get in the game in some way, everybody told you to get your LLC, now you're going to be a millionaire. That's not true. But they've implemented this BOI compliance to say that we need to know everything about you and your business. And if you don't fill out this form, we're going to charge you $500 every day until you get this in compliance. Now, this is a 5-minute form, but really you're giving up your identity and the sovereignty of you individually by completing this. And this is for individuals. This is for businesses that make under $5 million. Who is that? That's all you who went out there to get your LLC. It's not going after the real money launderers. They're not the ones making the small change like us, $5 million people. They're the ones that are making the big money. But again, they're trying to figure out ways to keep you out of this, because the oligarchy and these people and all their rich friends, they're getting away with getting these tax breaks, with robbing the poor, to continuing to build their empires. And it's like, damn, how much money do you need at this point? Like, why do you need to keep getting money? I don't understand. Why is it so important that you just continue to oppress other people so that you can get richer and richer? Like, there's only so much that you could buy. But, with capitalism, it's not thought of in that way. It's all about being selfish. It's not about, because once you think about helping somebody, that's socialism. Once you think about being community, that's communism. And those are bad words in the United States. It's all about rugged individualism, capitalism. Let's see how much money I can make. I get mine, and then you got to get yours. Even it doesn't matter how I get it. If I step on you to get it, it doesn't even matter. As of 2024, approximately 36% of African Americans, this is a good thing, were enrolled in college. So that's a good thing. So we're increasing. So, and then for recent high school graduates, the college enrollment rate for Black students is slightly higher. Actually, I'm sorry. In October, we're actually 59% of the enrollees, 59% of Black kids are enrolled in college. That is a good thing. But again, that money clock is ticking on the student loans. Okay. And we're not taking advantage. And I wish I had Moya here, because she helps people get scholarships. She helps people get scholarships. But that's the thing is, these kids are not applying for scholarships. And while they have them, because they're actually taking out, especially, with federal funding, these race-based scholarships for underserved, they're taking those away. Because again, they don't want it. They don't want to give you equity. They don't want to even the playing field. So we're going to make sure that you get it, get it on your own, go get the student loans. And when you get that student loan, oh, by the way, we're going to garnish your wages if you don't pay. Okay. But let's look at some opportunities like for trade schools, because I think that's a missed opportunity that we're not seeing a lot of Black folks doing. So let's look at the cost of trade schools. So on average, we're seeing, a regular public university, $25,000 per year. A trade school will actually be less than half of that. That's an option that we need to really look at. Here's what a public 4-year for 4 years is $87,000 as opposed to $6,000 for a lot of trade schools. Those are public. For private, Look at the difference, 153,000 compared to 31,000. Okay. So there's a huge difference. The average debt of a college student is 32,000. And for someone who went to a trade school is 8,000. Now there's all types of jobs that you can get in the trades, like, right? So whether it's a plumber or it's an electrician, these are some jobs, even truck drivers, getting your CDL. These are jobs that can make six figures. So they're and your average person that's coming out of college, I think, what are they making? $46,000 or $60,000. So think about some alternatives, because we've bought into the idea that the only route is going through a 4-year university, is getting that degree. I don't have a degree. I've always said I got a PhD, a public high school diploma. I don't have a degree. However, I've been able to make some good money. I wish I would have went to school to get that experience, to get access to certain things that I just didn't. I wasn't able to get access to until I was in my 40s, until I was well in my 40s. But I would, for me, getting that experience, when I send my kids to school, getting the experience is equally as important as getting the education, right? So because I need them to get out the house. I was talking to my son, my youngest son, yesterday, and I'm like, okay, you have any idea where you want to go to school? And he's like, no, you're in 11th grade. We got to figure this out. What we doing? Where we going? You want to go to Howard? If you want to go to Howard, that's cool. But you got to go live on campus. You can't live here. Because I've been waiting my whole life to get their asses out of my house. I want to be able to sit on my couch naked. I don't want your ass in the house. I want you to get out. However, but there's definitely other opportunities and options. Again, and for me, like for my son, like I want him to go because he's really shy. He's very introverted, and I need to kind of push him out there so that he can, grow up. When I sent my kids to college, to get out of my house so that they can spread their wings. And a lot of my friends, they won't let their kids go away to college because they're like, oh, they're not mature enough. Of course. And they're never going to be mature as long as they stay in your house. They're not ever going to be enough until you force them to grow wings. So that was what it was for me. That's what it is for me. And again, because I'm able to afford that for my children, I have the luxury to be able to do that without really sitting them out in the world with a bunch of debt. Now, I will tell you this. So my oldest son, he did take on some student loans. My daughter, I paid for her school in full. My son, he did take on some student loan debt, but mama gonna take care of that. Something I had to do while I was in transition in my divorce. A lot of my money went to attorneys and everything else. But one of the things he was going to do, he was just telling me like a couple months ago, Mom, I'm gonna go ahead and join the National Guard because, I was like, no, wait a minute, hold on, baby, let me cook. I got this. He was like, Mom, I'm a man. I'm gonna take care of my own stuff. And for me, that was very novel of him to do, because I appreciate him being a man, but also for me as a mom, it made me feel like, damn, I didn't prepare. Of course, life's events happen and you don't prepare for them, right? I did prepare, but I had to shift gears, and so I'm not quite prepared right now. But it's like, no, I got you. Give me a second. Let me do my thing. I got some tricks in the bag. Don't go out there and join no military to pay for your school. I got you. So for me, that's important. I'm willing to invest $100,000 in each of my children so that they could have experience. And then I think it just makes them more well-rounded individuals. So if you look at the cost of all types of schools, comparatively speaking, your trade schools on average are going to be about $12,000 per year. Your nonprofit schools are going to be about $16,000 per year. And then your for-profit schools, and this is on average. Again, one of my sons goes to a state university. He's about $20,000 for room and board. And my son who goes to a private school, he's about $40,000 per year. $40,000 per year for his student loans. And so there's a difference. We have to really think about is if this is really important for us, if we don't have it, what are some other ways that we can get into these professions without having to have all the debt? And so for all of you who, even when you go to college, there's a basic skill set that you don't have in order to build wealth. The Bible says that we should have 7, no 8 revenue streams in case a disaster strikes. 2020, COVID, a disaster struck. Yes. How many revenue streams did you have? 2022, for me, a disaster struck. I had a divorce. How many revenue streams did I have? Thank God I have multiple. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in Maryland today had I not. And so you got to think about that. And that's the reason why I come live every day. And that's also the reason why I do the Grow Your Money Club, is because I want to teach other people like you to be able to develop other revenue streams. Let me just show you really quick what the Grow Your Money Club is, and I'll be right back. Have you joined the Grow Your Money Club yet? If not, why not? The Grow Your Money Club is a comprehensive program designed to take you through the complete wealth building journey. We don't just offer random courses, we guide you along a clear path, starting with fixing your credit and becoming a certified credit expert, to building your business, increasing your cash flow, diversifying your portfolio, and ultimately letting your money work for you. With over 30 trainings designed to increase your net worth, you get to either purchase the trainings individually or go through the 12-month roadmap. Here are just a few of the courses. From campus to cash flows, this is teaching your children to become real estate investors. The Wealth Map training shows you how to eliminate your debt, increase your credit, and diversify your revenue streams. You can learn to write your book using ChatGPT. Learn how to build your online community. What about 8 ways to make money using AI? Oh, and here's 7 online revenue streams to fund your $1 million dream. How about learning how to purchase tax deeds or land banks? What about getting started in government contracting? If you're a rookie, the Real Estate for Rookies training has everything you need. The Business Blueprint training will help you build your business foundation, get business credit, get business funding, and learn how to pay yourself so that you can scale your business to the next level. Or perhaps you want to create jaw-dropping video content using CapCut, Midjourney, and ChatGPT. There are so many trainings and master classes within the Grow Your Money Club, and I also drop 1 new training per month. You do not want to miss out on this opportunity to invest in yourself, because guess what? You are your biggest commodity. You are your biggest investment. Join the Grow Your Money Club today. And listen, the Grow Your Money Club is significantly less than college. But again, for me, it's a give back to be able to help you to be able to gain a skill set to help you increase your net worth, because that's my goal. My goal really is to educate you, inform you, and to help you to increase your net worth so you don't have to worry about stuff like this, or so that you're able to send your kids to school without having to worry about, their student loan debt. That's the thing, is that, when we're talking about investing, and when we're talking about growing our wealth, and we're talking about like legacy creation, that's really passing that on to the next generation. And, the average wealth, when people end up building wealth, for Black people, it only lasts 1 generation. So when it goes to the next generation, it's lost in the next generation. And there's that saying, what is it saying? Hard times create strong men create weak men, and weak men create strong hard times, and hard times, like there's that cycle. And so a lot of times wealth is not passed. There's 90% of wealth is passed intergenerationally. 80% of wealth is generated through real estate. And if we cannot, because we're so caught up, and that's the way the world is going, think about globally of what's happening. They're making it harder for the people. Like it's like they are intentionally trying to create this permanent underclass in America so that there could be a real rich and a poor. And I don't understand the thinking of that, but I can only think that it has to be because of greed. If you don't want your country to do well financially, and what they don't understand is cutting off their nose to spite their face. If you don't want to see everybody win, right? I think it's better for the entire country if everybody is winning, if everybody has opportunities, if they make it easier for everyone. If you go to places like Norway and Denmark, where the education is free, these are some of the happiest places on earth. These are some of the places where they have low anxiety, no depression or low depression. There's, suicide rates are really low. But then when you come to America, there's this grind and this grit, and you have the tone. I was on the White House website today, and it was talking about, it was talking about student loan forgiveness. Let me just tell you, and the tone, White House odds. the tone that the president sets, of course, the tone of the I was reading, I don't even know what part. Oh God. Okay. Damn. So what I was saying is, I don't even know the last thing you heard, but what I was saying is our what was the last thing y'all heard really quick? I don't know, 1146. What was the last thing you heard about the student loan debt free or the White House? Because I was talking about the tone of the White House. And the tone that comes from the president trickles down and it affects everything else. And what he was saying about student loan forgiveness, he was basically saying, okay, so I went to the White House page. And so what I was saying is I went to the White House page, and if you look at I went to go look up what he had to say about student loan forgiveness. And even the tone of student loan forgiveness, this is education, y'all. This is education. He says, as the president of the United States, I have a duty to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution and our national security, which includes ending the subsidization of illegal activities, including illegal immigration, human smuggling, child trafficking, pervasive damage to public property. This is all about student loan forgiveness. Accordingly, it is the policy of my administration that individuals employed by organizations whose activities have substantial illegal purposes shall not be eligible for public service student loan forgiveness. Student loan forgiveness. Everything is about criminals. This is the tone and the rhetoric of America. And I don't know if you understand, just even in a culture of like a work culture. I built a really strong corporation organization. And in my organization, I was very clear that as the leader, I set the tone for everything else. So I had to make sure that the way I managed was in a way that was uplifting for the people, was inspiring for the people. I empowered the people to want to work, and I understood that if they were productive, if I created an environment where they could be productive and they feel supported and all that stuff. I don't feel like I'm a boss. I'm a leader. And when you lead with love, you lead with respect, you lead with humility, right? That's how you inspire people to move. But this president that we have, it's all about illegals. And you see on the lawn, he has pictures of, and it's mostly minorities. He's not talking about the white illegal people. But this is the tone that is set in America. Nobody respects us. He's lying through his teeth saying China wants to negotiate on tariffs. China is not negotiating. China said he's lying. China said fake news. That's what the president of China said, fake news. This man is lying. And so this is the tone of America. And this is the beginning of the downfall and the destruction of America. It really is. If you look at it, the crazy thing is that there's still people who are riding with it. It's insane to me. I feel like we're in the twilight zone. But let me tell you this. Let's talk about how we can eliminate student loan debt, because that's the biggest thing, right? Because a lot of us, if you went to college, 86% of you have student loan debt. And there are ways that you can eliminate. And I know that most of you have done your research instead of just deferring, forbearing, because you could defer for 3 years, you could forbear for 12 months at a time. And I'm telling y'all, if I have student loans, and thank God I don't, thank God early on when I bought my first home, I refinanced, I paid off the little student loan I had. I went to in fact, I wish I went to now, because I went to a school, it was called Masters Institute, and I learned IT engineering, network engineering. But the school, we came to school one day and it was closed. And so That was part of the Biden plan, that the student loan forgiveness was offering forgiveness for those schools, those trade schools that just abruptly closed, like ITT Tech and things like that. And so a lot of my friends who carried this student loan debt for it was over 20 years, they were finally getting their forgiveness for that. But just imagine if you're going to a trade school that just close abruptly, and now you're still responsible for $40, $50, $60,000 in debt, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no recourse. And so he's trying to even reverse that. Like, that's not fair. So, just being fair. But let's talk about forgiveness. So there's the public loan, the PSLF forgiveness. If you work full time for a government or nonprofit and you make 10 years worth of payments, the rest of your loan can be forgiven tax-free. So you need to make 10 years worth payments. You must be on the income-driven, the IDR program to qualify. Okay. So if you're in education, healthcare, nonprofits, that's an option for you. But it looks like the IDR plan is on the chopping block as well. Anything they could do to take away any benefits, which is just crazy. Why do you want to have people in debt? Why do you want to fire people? Why do you want to increase the unemployment? Like, what is this? How is this helping America? Because we're still American citizens, even though you want to hurt Black people. Again, really quick, let me just show you that video about the healthcare. Let me just show you, because this is the thinking. I just need you to see the thinking of a lot of people in America. Watch this.
Lays out all the numbers, and then he concludes that if we simply avoided allowing Black people to have any access to healthcare, that within 2 or 3 generations, the whole race would die out, and that would solve the race problem in America. Now, it sounds kind of crazy when I just lay it out like that right now, but this led to a whole bunch of things. By the 1920s, this was referred to as scientific racism. He was testifying about it before Congress. When Teddy Roosevelt, 1912, proposed a national healthcare system, people said no because Black people will get it. When Franklin Roosevelt proposed a national healthcare system, it was the same thing. We don't want Black people to get it. When Truman tried it in 47, same thing. Don't want Black people to get it. Right up until 1965, Senator Stennis, the Dixiecrats in the South, was quoting Hoffman, who was by then dead, but is still very famous in this field, as saying this. We have to figure out a way to keep Black people from using Medicare. This is when they were passing Medicare. And the way that they came up with was to have a 20% a gap in Medicare, so that you had to pay 20% of your doctor's bill and your hospital bill. And that would discourage poor Black people from showing up at the hospitals. I mean, it was the most shocking thing I discovered, Cenk, when I was doing the research on this book, is that nearly 100% of the reason why the United States is the only country in the world that doesn't define healthcare as a right and doesn't have any sort of national healthcare system to speak of is because of racism. And that's why you've got 12 states that still haven't expanded Medicaid, right? Free health insurance for low-income people, all former slave states.
This is what I'm saying. So I know this didn't have anything to do with student loans, but this is the diabolical thinking, is that I'm going to not give myself benefits because I don't want Black people to have it. But how does that help the country? People are so sick with racism, they will destroy the country and go down in flames rather than help somebody because they have darker skin. Is that not, that's like mental illness. I don't know if you guys know, but they actually, back in the 1800s, there was a kook, I forget his name, and he came up with a medical condition for slaves called drapetomania. Y'all know what drapetomania is? It's a mental illness that slaves had when they ran away. Slaves who ran away were deemed to be mentally ill. Yeah, these people are mentally ill. If they would go as far to vote against things that will help them because it helps you, it's just crazy to me, right? It's just crazy. It's just crazy, and I'll never understand it. But anyway, let me get back. I just wanted to just tell you the mentality of these people. The reason why they're doing shit that the way that they're doing is they're so sick with racism. Now the powers that be, they just want to stay in power. It's these uneducated people, these Mountain Dew drinking, inbreds that just hate you so much. And they're the ones that are voting. This is the reason why they need to take away the electoral college. This is the reason why our tax dollars in these bigger states like California is going to take care of these folks who actually hate our guts. And we're paying all of this money in taxes to help these poor people, these poor inbreds that hate our guts, hate our liberal guts. It's crazy. So anyway, there is also the income-driven repayment forgiveness. Okay, so you got to make 20 to 25 years. So the first one was the PSLF, 10 years. Okay, but you have to work for a government or nonprofit for 10 years. The income, the IDR, you got to make the payments for 20 to 25 years. By that time, you didn't pay the loan off. You just haven't paid the interest. And so then they'll forgive the interest. There's a teacher loan forgiveness that if you're working in low income schools, you can get up to $17,000 forgiven after 5 years. But damn, that's all you're making. Shit, it's gonna take you. You got $200,000, $150,000 in student loans. You making $40,000 a year. Like, are you really putting a dent? This is the reason why our education system is so messed up. Okay, you have the military service, so GI benefits can help. That's why my son wanted to go into the military. Let me see. What are the other ones? You have the state and employer loan repayment system. So many states offer their own repayment assistance for working in underserved areas like rural doctors, mental health workers, and teachers. All right. And then in bankruptcy, in some extreme cases, but here's the thing. Let me tell you, under Biden's forgiveness, loan forgiveness, it actually made it easier. There's this thing called the Brunner, The Brunner test. The Brunner test. The Brunner test is the legal standard that courts used to decide if you can discharge a student loan through bankruptcy. Now, it had been hard to do. This came from a 1987 court case of Brunner versus New York State. And basically it was saying, listen, I'm so impoverished that I can't maintain a minimal standard of living if I keep paying my student loan. Can I discharge it? Well, 1987, Brunner won. It's called a poverty test. However, since then, they've made it nearly impossible for the Brunner test to stand. However, now with Biden student loan forgiveness, they've been able to people have been able to successfully do it. So there's a 45-year-old Black woman who's been working at a low-wage job despite having a degree. She can't find a higher-paying job. She has medical issues, and she can now win a Brunner test and discharge $75,000 in student loans. Okay. Before 2022, she would have been denied automatically. No judges were approving any of those cases. But because of new hardship guidance and guidelines from the student loan forgiveness, you were able to use the Brunner test. Okay. The final thing is, I don't know if you know, but here's something that you could do. You can actually refinance your public student loan into a private loan and file bankruptcy. Now, I'm not encouraging you to do that, but it's an option, right? Because you can't file bankruptcy on a student debt. You can't file bankruptcy on a student debt. A federal loan. You can't file bankruptcy on a student loan. However, you can file bankruptcy on a private loan. So let me see. The private lenders, let me give you an example of the private lenders. SoFi, Earnest, Citizens Bank, Discover, Sallie Mae, College Avenue. Those are private lender, non-government student loan lenders. Okay. They market with ads saying, you could get a better interest rate. You could reduce your payments. You got to have fairly good credit in order to get them. But I've seen some people do that. Refinance these federal loans into private loans. And now they've discharged them in bankruptcy. It's going to be on your credit for 10 years, but you don't have a student loan. I've seen it happen. So That's the thing. Absolutely right, Robin. That's when I sip my tea. But that's a possibility. And then the student loan debt is wiped away. And then you have this bankruptcy on your credit report for 10 years, but you gotta you're up from under $100,000 in student loan debt. And that's a possibility. Now, do you want to do it? Let's look at the pros and the cons. I did write out some pros and cons of doing that, right? So if you do a private student loan, if you refinance into a private student loan, then that removes your options of ever getting any kind of forgiveness. Okay. So do you qualify for forgiveness? If you do, don't refinance. Okay. Because you might consider if forgiveness isn't available. Well, now with what Trump's doing, forgiveness ain't really available no more like it was before. Okay. So are you struggling financially and might need bankruptcy later because you can only do it, after 10 years? Private loans are easier to bankrupt. Okay. Can you afford higher private loan payments without flexibility? Because the payment may be higher. It's a risk, right? So if you stay federal, you might be able to get that flexibility of the IDR, forbearance, deferments that you may not get in a private loan situation. Okay. If you're chasing lower interest rates, private financing could save you possibly if you plan aggressively, but there's not any opportunities for you to do, forbearance or anything like that. Okay. So you have more risk. If you believe in the future that after this clown gets out of office, that another president may come and save you and offer some type of forgiveness, it may be a good idea to wait. You might want to stay federal, but if not, you refinance and you good with filing bankruptcy, file bankruptcy. I wouldn't even be mad at you if you did, but you have options to get out of that $100,000 debt. I will tell you this. There are loans out there that if you file bankruptcy the next day, you can get a loan for a home. It wouldn't be a government loan. It wouldn't be an FHA loan or anything like that. It will be a non-QM or non-qualified mortgage. You'd have to put a good chunk of money down. But the other thing is within 2 years of filing bankruptcy. So you file bankruptcy today, you get discharged all those loans. In 2 years, you could qualify for a home loan, getting an FHA loan. But think about you carrying this $100,000 debt, and you can't qualify for a loan for years because you just have your debt to income ratio is just too high. So you got to weigh out those things, right? You have to weigh out those things. Once you file bankruptcy, it's done. They can't come after you. Done data. I filed bankruptcy. It was one of the best decisions. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. I did that in 2009. And I was 33 years old, I think. And it was one of the best decisions that I made, financial decisions at the time. The city I was in, Stockton, filed bankruptcy. San Bernardino, I think, filed bankruptcy. So a lot of people were in bankruptcy court because they were reestablishing themselves. This clown in the office filed bankruptcy. How many times? So I looked at it for me as a business decision. It might be something that you need to do. Maybe your credit is already messed up. In 2008, I had my last child. Y'all, I'm struggling. I'm self-employed. I had an assistant. I'm pregnant. And I had to decide one month if I was going to pay her or pay my insurance. I paid my assistant and I didn't pay my insurance. And when I had my baby, I had no insurance. And I had a $50,000 insurance bill. Bankruptcy. I had a $50,000 line of credit from, what was that from? Oh, from a tax bill. I owed the IRS taxes from 04 and 05. No, yeah, 04 and 05. $50,000 tax bill. I took out a line of credit. It was line of credit. Bankrupt. I bankrupted over $100,000 and walked away and floated out the courtroom. It was the best decision of my life. But I'm not saying that's an option for y'all. But if it's something that you have to do, it's a business decision. That's how you have to look at it. It's not a failure. Now, in the field that I'm in, I have to disclose a lot, right? So if I was within that 10 years and they pulled my credit because I own a mortgage company, they were like, well, what happened? And I just explained it. I filed bankruptcy. I'll never do it again. Boom. Easy breezy. So if you're in that kind of critical situation where you need to do that, do it unashamedly, and reestablish yourself and never get back into that problem again. My rule of thumb of whether to file bankruptcy or not is this: is it going to take me longer than 2 years to pay it off? For me, I'm not talking about the student loans. I'm just talking about your cumulative debt. If it's going to take longer than 2 years for me to pay off, I'm gonna go ahead and file it. If it's a significant amount, right? If it's well over 10, 15, $20,000 for me, I don't know what your threshold is. But is it going to take, longer than 2 years to pay it off? If it is, then for me, that was the deciding factor, because I knew that in 2 years I could purchase more property. And then if you have a spouse, even better. Because what I did is I went by the method of don't buy a house with your spouse. And the reason why I did that is because I feel like you have more leverage when you buy individually than you buy together, right? Because your debt to income ratio is not tied up. Both of your debt to income ratio is not tied up in one property. You buy one, he buys one, you buy one. You have more leverage if you're buying individually, if you can afford it, than buying together. Because if we buy this house together, well, then both of our debt to income ratio is tied up. But if he buys his property, I'm free. I can go buy another property. I could be a first time home buyer on this other property. And then we refinance and we get out of that loan and we get an FHA loan and we put 3.5% down on the next one. Then we refinance and we just keep the cycle. But if you have a spouse and one of your spouse, because that's what I did, one of you guys can maintain cool credit, then it still gives you the opportunity to be able to do something with that one spouse if the other spouse's credit is tied up. That's me based upon my own experience, and it worked out for me. I filed bankruptcy in 2009, 2010. I opened up Catalyst Real Estate Professionals, which went on to become the largest Black-owned real estate firm in California. So it's not about, those hardships were really lessons for me to be able to help other people, but it's what do you do? What do you do after? What's the recovery like for you? And as long as you don't stay down bad, as long as you don't continue the cycle, you don't continue the habits, you'll be okay. That's what it is. That's what it is. So let me just look at your comments. I don't have anybody helping me today. That's why no comments went on the screen. Holy Spirit, what you talking about, please? Okay. So Donald Buffett said our Black women are worse off than any other women yet. Yeah, we are hated so much in this country. We don't get fair treatment. That is the truth. Okay, Julie, if you got the education, it should be repaid. They got the education they signed for. Circumstances beyond the agreement on the borrowed amount are of no consequence of the loan. That's very novel. Mm-hmm. I do believe, Carl, this is the new red line situation. I think it's a situation where they keep removing or they keep moving the goalpost, right? Every time they tell us to do something, okay, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Get your own property. We're going to give 40 million acres of land to white people. We're not going to give you 40 acres of mule. We're not going to give you anything. Okay, get your own stuff. Pick your own stuff. Okay, let's pull ourselves up. We do. You burn our stuff down. You bomb it. You don't give us loans when we do try to get it. It's another form of redlining. I do believe that. Okay. Somebody needs help with gas. No one will help us. I call the police and walk to the gas station. Somebody help Holy Spirit. Democrats only help Black women, gays, and immigrants, and these are facts. I know so many Black kids that are dead living in the Democrat state. Stop blaming Trump for everything. All right, Donald Buffett. Holy Spirit said, I'm from Arkansas. I've done everything I can do, and no one will help us. All we need is like $12 to make it home. I'm praying for a miracle right now. How do they get in contact with you, Holy Spirit, if they want to maybe cash app you $12? How do you? Okay. What is that's your Cash App? That's your PayPal? What is that? Is that your Cash App? Let me know, Holy Spirit. I'll Cash App you $12. Okay, so you mad because you paid off your student loan? She said, Julie said, I paid off mine. Some senile old man says it's okay. You don't have to pay it back. Really messed things up. I'm sorry. She paid hers back and she don't want you to pay yours back. She wants you to pay yours back because she paid hers back. I paid mine back too. I did, but I still think it's great if we don't have to. I don't think it's anything wrong with helping people to be able to get on their foot, especially if people can't afford to purchase homes because they bought into the idea that of the American dream of education, and now they're saddled with debt, and they're unable to do anything else because they're paying student loan debt off. But of course, if you want to help people, that's socialism, and we don't want to do that because this is a capitalistic society. Oh, go ahead, Donald. This woman acting like Biden was for us, especially black men. Biden was a known and open racist. And what's Donald Trump? Blacks are always bragging and putting black men down. I don't brag and put black men down. Thank you for sharing this information on free healthcare. I've been in the single payer healthcare movement for 20 years. White people set up trust funds to pay for their kids for college. Loan forgiveness is a lie. Somebody has, you see all the people who don't have their faces on here? That's awesome. They always move the goalposts for us. Why do people think that someone else should pay for their loans they took out? Wolf's friend 42. Why is Africa still a full third world country that have not advanced like the rest of the world? You want to know why? Do you really want to know why? Do I have the video in here? Let me show you why really quick, okay? I'm going to show you why really quick. Let me go to my YouTube page. Show you why Africa is a third world. No. Let me go to my TikTok because I think it's on there. If you want to know why Africa is a third world country and it's not advanced like the rest of it. I am Constance Carter. Oh, by the way, follow me on I am Constance Carter. Let me show you why Africa is a third world country, sir. Okay. Let's see. Share screen. Here's my TikTok. Hopefully you're still on here so that you can understand why Africa is still a third world country. When we talk about Africa, our motherland, we got to stop looking at it like it's just been struggling all on its own. Poverty, corruption, war, that narrative is incomplete because the truth is many African nations were deliberately destabilized by the U.S. government through CIA, U.S. aid, and Western foreign policy, all to maintain control over African resources and keep the continent from rising. And we're going to break it all down today. Now, let's start with the Congo. Congo. In 1961, CIA helped assassinate Patrice Lumumba, the country's first democratically elected prime minister. Why? Because Lumumba wanted to nationalize the Congo's resources, their uranium, diamonds, copper, and keep the profits for the people. The U.S. and Belgium said nah and had him killed. Same playbook in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah, with a Pan-African visionary talking Black unity, economic independence, and African liberation, the CIA orchestrated a coup in 1966 to have him removed. Right after he published Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, the U.S. saw him as a threat. These weren't isolated incidences, they were strategies. Let's fast forward to Libya in 2011. The U.S. led a NATO intervention to overthrow Gaddafi. Why? Gaddafi was about to launch a gold-backed African currency to free Africa from Western financial control. He wanted Africa to trade with its own money and its own wealth. What happened after? Gaddafi was killed, Libya destroyed, and now they are open-air slave markets from the wealthiest country in Africa to a failed state, all because he tried to empower Africa. Then there's Angola. During the Cold War, the U.S. backed the rebel group UNITA against the leftist MPLA government. That turned Angola into a war zone for 25 years. Hundreds of thousands died, millions were displaced. Why? Oil, diamonds, and the U.S. didn't want a socialist African state. Meanwhile, American oil companies kept drilling off the coast like nothing was happening. Somalia, the U.S. stepped in under the guise of humanitarian aid in the 90s. But behind the scenes, they were backing warlords, manipulating factions, and turning the country into a proxy war playground. That infamous Black Hawk Down incident, it didn't just happen. It was part of a larger pattern of interference, all while Somalia spiraled into decades of civil war. In Sudan, the U.S. foreign policy played a role in the split that created South Sudan, a move pushed by oil interests and pressure from Western-backed rebel groups. But instead of more peace, what followed was more conflict, more death, and now both nations are in crisis. But corporations still got their oil contracts. And let's not forget Nigeria. It's Africa's largest oil producer, and for decades, the U.S. had its hand in the pot, supporting military regimes when convenient, then turning a blind eye to human rights violations and watching as the Niger Delta was polluted and impoverished. The people suffered, but the oil kept flowing, and that's all that mattered. Now, let's be clear. It wasn't just guns and coups. USAID, which sounded like charity, was used as weapons, too. Many African nations received U.S. aid with strings attached. Open up your markets,
privatize your resources, cut education and healthcare, let our companies in, or no money for you. And if you refuse, they fund your opposition, back a coup, or simply pull the plug and watch your economy collapse. That's not foreign aid. That's economic blackmail. Family, this is deeper than politics. This is about power, wealth, and legacy. Every time an African nation tried to rise, tried to unify, tried to own what was theirs, the U.S. shut it down. Why? Because a strong Africa means a strong Black diaspora. And a strong diaspora, that's a threat to global white supremacy. They want Africa in chaos because chaos keeps us disconnected from our history, our birthright, and our power. But now we know better. So it's time to do better. We got to stay woke, wealthy, outstanding, knowledgeable, and empowered. Now drop a Black fist in the comments and share this.
So just going back to your question, Wolf's friend 42, why is Africa still full of third world countries that have not advanced like the rest of the world? Okay. So let me go. I'm just going to just your questions or your comments. Nobody's saying that you don't have to pay your student loan, but the way they have the interest set up is diabolical. So the fact that you start out with $40,000 when you leave college and now, listen, 100%. I just said, look, $100,000 debt. Where are you at? Let me move the comment out the way. $100,000 debt. If you pay it, it takes an average of 20 years to pay off student loans, and $100,000 ends at $186,000. That is what you are saying is diabolical. Yeah, the way the student loans, that's called compound interest. Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who know about it earn from it. Those who don't pay it. Student loan charges you compound interest. Okay. The richest people don't have a degree. Must Bill Gates clause. Yeah. Interest rates crazy. Somebody said we should take public schools away and just do private schools altogether. With the dismantling of the Department of Education, I ain't really super mad at that, because when you think about the prison to pipeline, that they're taking 3-year-olds to decide how many prisons, 3-year-old Black kids to decide how many prisons that they should build based upon the performance of 3-year-old Black children in these privatized prisons, which is actually, basically slavery to 2025. So when you think about what they're teaching and the amount of disciplinary action that happens to Black kids disproportionately comparatively speaking to white kids, I don't buy into the whole idea of the Department of Education anyway. It needs to be overhauled. I don't know how they need to do it, but I know it needs to be changed. And if you're not an engaged parent, your kids, I had 3 boys in public school, and I had to be their advocate. They had to let them know what time it was on mine all day long. Somebody said Blacks are hindering Black wealth, not Trump. There we go. No fiction. If you don't acknowledge it's broken, you won't fix it. We need to stop crying wolf. Got it. Okay. My grandma always said they never expected us to last this long. That healthcare, huh? You'll be surprised how many Black people don't want free healthcare today because they like their private healthcare. That's interesting. And I will be surprised at the ones, especially those, because there's a large percentage of them who are in the lower income. And so then they wouldn't. Well, I mean, now we have Obamacare, right? This part right here, Teresa. Loan forgiveness got people upset, but government bailouts to corporations and no one says a mumbling word. Well, because the face of that is different, Teresa. The face of the corporate bailouts are much different than the student loans, because guess what? The people who are getting the student loan forgiveness, they look like me. The ones who are getting the corporate bailouts, they look like Lone Wolf or whatever the fuck this man's name was. Let's see. College should be free. We can learn a lot from Switzerland and others when it comes to free education. Yep. Thank you for listening to Real History. The bigots on here are always gonna hate. Just gotta. Here's the thing about the bigots, and I love when they come on here. But the thing about them is, even with the evidence in their face, they still won't believe you. They're still gonna believe the narrative that they want to believe. Yeah, they will. It doesn't even matter, because their hatred is so much more prevalent than anything that they can want for themselves, any betterment that they want for themselves. They hate you more than they love themselves. Ain't that crazy? I hate your black ass more than I love myself or love my children, because I want you to suffer. And hey, we'll just be collateral damage because I don't want you to have nothing. They got these people brainwashed like shit. Yep, law of 72. We gotta learn about compound interest. What's up, Brenda? So listen, this is the reason why I come live here every single day, is because I just want to educate you. I do something called the Net 7 Collective. If you're new here, I have what's called the Net 7 Collective, where I help Black women like Brenda. Brenda was on here last week, and Brenda is a brilliant Black woman. And I coach Black women from all over the country on how to increase their net worth. I've helped a lot of them increase their net worth by 70%, help them to invest in real estate, create other revenue streams, things like that. So I just want to introduce you to, let me see, which video do I want?
3 or 4 years. I've been praying for a business coach. I knew that a coach, I read many times that all the most successful people have a coach. Coaches have coaches.
I've learned how to purchase land. I've learned how to do overages in real estate. And I even learned some different things with credit, that I've gotten my credit cleaned up with my bankruptcy, that I'm almost in my home stretch. Doing everything right now and applying it.
I finished 2 ebooks. If I could do it, anybody can do it. And started a nonprofit.
Gotten more out of this than I ever anticipated.
Constance has done an amazing job at placing systems to allow us to understand how to prosper in our businesses.
I'm telling you, I would move heaven and earth not to miss one of these sessions.
So that's what I do. That's my passion project. That's my purpose project. I also have Catalyst Real Estate Professionals, I created the largest Black-owned real estate firm in California. I took a 2-year sabbatical, and I reopened it about 4 months ago. And so we're on track already. So we have Catalyst Real Estate Professionals, Carter Financial Solutions, which is my mortgage company. And I own a marijuana dispensary. But my passion project, my purpose project, is the Net 7 Collective, where I'm pouring into Black women. That is my purpose and my passion. And that's the reason why I come here every day, just educating folks on what's going on. You know, it's important that we understand what the historical perspective is, what's happened in history. That's the reason why I always bring it up, because you can't understand where you are without understanding where you've been or why you're in this position. A lot of people will come over to this country and they'll look down on Black people because they'll say, oh, you know, what they've seen in the media, that Black people are brutal or we're savages. We're not the ones that have created genocide and killed and murdered and maimed and pillaged a whole race of people. We haven't done that. And so for them to create this narrative about who we are, and that's not who we are. You know, we were trying to live our lives and thrive and do all the things that you told us to do. And we tried. And every time we tried, you've always moved the goalpost, or you've destroyed it. You've destroyed our communities completely. You know, the only coup d'etat that's happened on American soil was in Wilmington, North Carolina, when they came and destroyed a whole Black town and overthrew the local government because they were all Black and they were thriving. You have neighborhoods that were thriving all throughout the community that were destroyed by eminent domain, by urban renewal, or just got bombed and burned down. I mean, it's just what's happened. And so then you're like, well, why are Black people impoverished? And nobody has an answer, and they think it's by our own doing. And then when you have Black folks that come together, when you have unity in the Black community, what happens? J. Edgar Hoover says that Negro unity is the biggest threat to America. Okay, so then they kill Fred Hampton because he got the idea right. Let's unite poor people, the Poor People's Campaign, and let's unite poor people from across the nations. White poor people, Black poor people, Hispanic poor people, Asian poor people. Let's get them together. What? That's too much power. So they killed that 22-year-old young man in the bed with his pregnant fiance. All of these things. Every time we've tried to get ahead, then you come and put crack cocaine in our communities. And then what happened? It was discovered. Gary Webb from the San Jose Mercury News, my hometown, was just an investigative reporter. He wasn't even trying to discover no shit like that. He discovered that the CIA had put crack cocaine in the Black communities and dropped guns in there so that Black people could destroy themselves. Gary Webb. And guess what happened to Gary? Y'all know what happened to Gary Webb? He killed himself. You know how he did that? In Carmel, California, that's near Sacramento. You know how he killed himself? He shot himself twice in the back of the head. for discovering. And then, you know, his reputation was tarnished. So all of these, you know, listen, I think for you guys are saying, why is Africa so poor? You see why Africa is so poor. I just showed you why Africa is so poor. Why don't black people pull themselves up by the bootstraps? We didn't even start with boots. We put the boots on, we strap them up, you burn them off, you cut our feet off. It's the truth. So so these things are really important. And the reason why it's so important is it's important that we continue to practice collective economics. You got to do business with one another. Okay. So the narrative that we don't do good business or we shouldn't support each other has been a brainwashing in our community for the longest. And I believe that we are turning the tide because we're seeing what's been going on. Now, somebody said, oh, Biden did this. Biden, you're right. I'm not negating anything you're saying. These politicians didn't give a damn about black people. They never have. They just, it was all covered up. Now what Trump, because Trump is so arrogant and he's so stupid. He's really an idiot. He's basically telling all their secrets out loud. So now you hear him because they've been saying this shit behind closed doors for years. They've just been keeping us pacified. So now that we see it, we have to get information. We got to get active. We have to get active so that we can be insulated. So the Net 7 Collective, if you are interested in the Net 7 Collective, please reach out to me. Go to Book with Constance, book an appointment with Constance, bookwithconstance.com. And I'm happy to have a conversation to see if you will be a good fit. We have some everybody. We got Brenda, who was in the comments. She's an IT specialist specializing in AI. She's a real estate investor, just a dope woman. We have April Sampay, who's an entertainer and a real estate professional. We have doctors, lawyers, scientists, CEOs. We have all kinds of people inside the Net 7 Collective. So if you want to be surrounded, got Miss Black Hollywood, who is a Hollywood director and actress. We have other people who create films. We have singers. We have some everybody. These are just Black women who are just forward thinking and who want the best for each other. So if you need a community like that, if you need a community of Black women and you are a unicorn, go to bookwithconstance.com and let's talk about it. Let's go. I got bookwithconstance.com and let's see if you'll be a good fit for the Net 7 Collective, because I'm interviewing women right now within the next couple of weeks to see if we want to add them to our community of brilliant, bright, bold, badass Black women. Look at these alliterations. My alliterations be on. My alliterations be. Anyway, I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow. I think April gonna be on with me tomorrow. We're gonna talk about some mindless stuff. So y'all come on and be entertained, and we're gonna laugh and have a good time. But again, I love you guys in real life, and this is the reason why I do this every day. I could be this right here. It ain't make no money for me right now. It ain't making no money for me. So I could be doing things that make money, but I want to come to just to pour into you and to encourage you just to go out there and do it. Go out there and get it. Be like Nike, just do it. Don't wait for perfection. Just do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. All right. Brenda, Net 7 puts you in the company of women that want to grow and succeed, baby. Yes. How many revenue streams did the Bible say that we should have? 7? No, 8 in case a disaster strikes. So listen, we got to have 8 revenue streams, because if we don't, then we can be stuck with our pants down. All right.